Now, speaking of the EC's legal woes, the Director of Elections for the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Elvis Efie Ankra, says his party will also be officially challenging the exclusion of voter ID cards from the registration process in court.
It's going to be complex because you need to fill forms. It will make the process delay, and therefore it will make the entire process more difficult. So we're saying that it will be extremely impossible for the EC to register 17 million people plus within a month. It's a practical impossibility in a rainy season in a COVID-19 era. By the time we are finished, God forbid, the infection rate would have jumped to 100,000.
And that's a point that the NDC has started making. In fact, your minority in Parliament has started making this morning.
We've been saying this right from get-go.
And well, it's now coming from Parliament, the angle that this is going to create more.
It's been one of the reasons. It's been one of the reasons that we've articulated.
That they're going to observe all the protocols.
It still does not. It doesn't make sense. On your screens right now, you're seeing people gathered to go and register. Okay.
I don't know you are seeing that here, but we did put that on at the point. Those are old results anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We know how registration occurs in this country. If you talk about 25 people within the perimeter, you can have control of people within the perimeter. But what about outside the perimeter? If you're doing 6 days of registration in a cluster, people will come the first day by their so-called pilot or demonstration. Only 40, 50 people will be able to register. The next day, the number will increase exponentially. By the third or fourth day, there is going to be chaos. Okay. This is not a prophecy.
You're going to give me a particular legal
42 says every citizen of 18 years or some has a right to vote and is entitled. You see the language, the right to vote. So that right, you can decide not to exercise. But when it comes to registration, it is your entitlement. And therefore, the state, which is the Electoral Commission paid by us, must put in place every measure, systems, mechanisms, processes, and procedures to ensure that that right is exercised. Then quickly, 45.
I need to wrap up.
45, quick one. The Electoral Commission shall have the following functions: to compile the register of voters and revise it at such periods as may be determined by law. But what people are not paying attention to undertake programs for the expansion of the registration of voters. You ask yourself, by these measures that have been put in place, by these unreasonable measures, will it lead to an expansion of the registration of voters? The answer is no. Okay. Many people do not have their Ghana card. Many people do not have passports. The process of guaranteeing is going to make it very cumbersome. And if you look at the demographics from Bono all the way up, it's incredible if you look at the numbers. And imagine a situation where we had 17 million people on the voters roll, and because of the EC's own intransigence, they go ahead and do this COVID-19, and then at the end of the day, you have less people on the register.
So you're looking to challenge this new law?
Oh, we will do whatever it takes, and because it's just not. We want peace in this country. Electoral disputes have led to serious consequences in other countries, and we don't want that to happen. And that is why we keep on talking to the citizens. And thank God, many more people are supporting our position. Many more people have seen that the EC is being unreasonable, is being arbitrary, and we have Supreme Court cases, we have precedents, and we are confident that at the end of the day, the will of the people will prevail.
Now, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay says Parliament should be proud of how yesterday's vote, on the report of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee on the EC's controversial CI went. His comments follow red flags by minority members Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa and James Kluchi-Aveji that although 202 MPs were recorded present in the House yesterday, only 198 voted, questioning the whereabouts of the vote of the other 4. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with more. So, Joseph, do we know where the other 4 went? Joe, do we now understand why we saw the shortfall of 4 votes?
So the explanation that's coming from the majority leader is that there were situations of some MPs who were present at the beginning of the debate and the conversation when it comes to general proceedings and even issues having to do with the CI. But by the time that the voting time came, which was sometime around 2 p.m. thereabout, even after the House started sitting around 11, they had left the chamber. And the majority leader mentioned specifically the Ascent Central MP, Kennedy Ajapong, as well as 3 others that he explained were present in the morning, but were not present when eventually the voting was taking place. And so for him, that's the explanation on how come there was the shortfall and not because anything untoward happened. And the speaker rightly backed his claim and indicated that raising questions about the votes that were cast and how the results came may end up creating a wrong impression in the minds of the public. But for him, the process that unfolded yesterday is something that Parliament should be proud of and other institutions should actually learn from when it comes to democratic processes.
So tell us what else transpired on the floor today.
A number of other things. There was a question to the Minister for Health by Roxin Dafiamekbo, who is the NDC MP for North Dai, asking how much it cost the nation to launch the COVID-19 tracking app. And on the floor, there was a reaction from Bernard Okoboy, who is the Deputy Minister for Health, who indicated that the question was directed in the wrong direction and that this is rather a question that we should have had the Minister for Health, not the Minister for Health, but the Minister for Communications responding to. Mr. Dafiamekbo is not exactly happy and thinks national resources have been wasted, even in getting the minister to come respond to the question. Apart from that, on the presence of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, who is the NDC MP on the Finance Committee, has been commenting on the issue having to do with Unit Pass and them taking over the running of the port from GCNet. He says the nation lost about 100 million Ghana cedis in late April as a result of the transition, which he says has been mismanaged, and wants GCNet to go back to their work. And the final bit, James Galga, who is the ranking member on the Committee on Defense and Interior, has been addressing the media, and he says the recent incident with the arrest of the pastor and all is government overreaching and the security agencies, in his words, misbehaving and virtually infringing on the rights of people, which Ghanaians should not allow. So he's currently still addressing the media, asking government to respect the fundamental human rights of ordinary Ghanaians.
Thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, for those updates from the House.